morning. And let me first just thank you for taking the time to have a discussion with us this morning, a conversation a little bit about your experience with special programs. We certainly appreciate your time. Know you're probably crazy and busy at this time of the year. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today because I did some research last night on ACS International, and it was just really, really fascinating to me. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more and how you've incorporated special programs into your education ecosystem, I guess. But first things first, let's get some basics down. Why don't you introduce yourself, your name, your title, and tell us a little bit about your district.
Okay, so we're probably different to most schools, I would have thought. My name's Jules Kingsley. I work for the Educational Strategy Department, which is a very rare kind of department to have in international schools, where we can oversee sort of all 4 campuses, which are sort of pre-K up to 12. And we think about how moves we can make in technology for all schools to be aligned.
Oh, very interesting. So how many students total, faculty, teachers?
Okay, so I think we're up to around about 5,000 students-ish. I mean, it's moving around a lot at this time.
Wow.
Because of the pandemic and things.
Yeah.
In 14 divisions across 4 campuses across 2 continents.
Wow. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, great. Well, let me ask you, which PowerSchool Special Programs modules are you using?
Okay, so because we're based 3 schools in the UK and 1 in Qatar, we're not using so many of your out-of-the-box ones like the 504s or things like that. Last year, we sort of had a complete revamp and we had some custom documents put in for us to suit our needs that can span both sets of legal requirements for both Doha and Qatar and the UK. And so this year was a trial with our students who are what we call learning support or resource, or the students that need extra support, with a view that we're going to start using what we call EAL, you guys call ELL.
Yeah.
Will be the next group to go out. But also we're also looking, once we've got that group in, to potentially be using it for every student, to be giving them individual learning plans. So, so every student would then, because if it's good to do for one student, it's good to do for every student. But probably the way we do it will be a little bit different. So that's kind of our longer term plan of we're sort of using it to get used to the system and get our teachers used to it first by using those sort of students that are most in need. So our resource and support students.
Oh, that's great. That's a great plan. I think I like the phased in approach. And so you're not overwhelming your staff, you're not overwhelming your faculty, and, the personalized learning plans, individualized learning plans, no surprise there. We've seen a huge uptick in interest around that. And I think a lot of it has to do with, the landscape of last year and addressing learning loss and achievement gaps and all of those things, and really making sure that everybody has a personalized plan to get them students where they need to be. Very interesting.
Yeah, one size just doesn't fit at all.
No, it certainly does not. It certainly does not.
But also one of the nice things is the record keeping of it, so that when the students matriculate into the following year, it's good that teachers, the next teachers can see what's happened and sort of see their progression. And that's one of the really great things we've seen. I know we're only using it with a small group of students, but that ability for everybody to kind of go back and look at decisions that were made and why they were made, and some of the conversations that happen behind the scenes. I think I'm hoping we get the benefit of that next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Having that one centralized repository for everything, so everyone knows where to go. And that even extends out to, parents and guardians. When there's meeting, you're not searching different places for different things. So exactly. A nice segue into the next question, which is, what were you doing to manage these programs prior to utilizing special programs?
So because we're 14 divisions over 4 campuses, what tended to happen was it was done individually by division, sometimes by campus. And so so it was all being done, but it was done in sort of a variety of forms. Everybody kind of chose which was their favorite way of doing it. and sort of with our GDPR sort of push in the last few years of making sure any data we've got is sort of very protected, and we could sort of have district level rules about what, who sees what when. This system allowed us to set those parameters up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the consistency piece, right? Not to say that probably everyone was doing it in their own way and in a good way in some ways, but when you lack that consistency, then you also have a hard time, I think, reporting on that data and being able to look at that data in a way in which it's structured where you can really start to analyze things across the board and not having to dig in individually to the different types of things people are doing.
Absolutely. That also can create issues when you're asking everybody to do it exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
it's not necessarily because everyone, we've always done it this way. And obviously, right, each school has a different set of, criteria of a push in, pull out, a mix of both. And, they have different ways that they deliver, but definitely as far as people are for campus level, for us, it's much easier. And it's taken us time to get everybody to see it that way.
And that's actually leads me kind of into my next question, because I think what you said is important. There is sort of an organizational change management component to all of these things when you're going from one way to another way and folks are used to doing it sort of their way, right? So I guess from that, what kind of advice would you have for other school districts that are transitioning from a solution into this? Anything, tips or tricks or things that you've learned along the way that would make that kind of easier in terms of a transition?
I would say crawl, walk, run, as in not just for the users, but certainly my role and a colleague's roles tends to be support for those users. So if they suddenly, you need to have a group small enough, we can support fully, because teachers are really busy. They don't want you to be going, I'm a bit busy, I can't get to you. Make the space to be able to get back and go, okay, it might be a setting that I don't know, I need to get onto tech support, but to be able to feed back much quicker to them. So I would definitely say crawl, walk, run, rather than
right out of the gate.
Yeah, and it's a huge system. I also am district admin on our VLE and our on our SIS, and SPED is much more complex than either of those. Yeah,
and it really is. It's so comprehensive. You really are sort of drinking from the fire hose, as they say, at the beginning. And so I think that's really a great approach and good advice, because what you're doing by phasing it in and using smaller groups is, I think over time, you have the capacity to build almost subject matter experts in those areas. And then you have these go-to people, and there's just sort of a natural evolution to it for folks knowing who to go to get the answers they need. They've done a lot of studies on teachers and how they learn best new programs, new technology. And it's funny, a lot of it comes down to really from your peers, learning from your peers. So I think that was actually a brilliant idea on y'all's part to phase that in slowly.
And with our VLE as well, we've done sort of local experts first, so training a local expert. So there's a triage effect of hopefully somebody on site can answer your question very quickly, and we triage it going up, saying, oh, they can't, the next person can't, so you get to me to sort of do a bigger help.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So what would you say your favorite part of implementing special programs and utilizing this system in terms of like benefits?
As far as benefits, I would say it's now when we've got information in there and we can see how well our schools are doing. That's probably my favorite part, is seeing all these amazing things, especially during a pandemic when I've been on campus, not as much as I usually am. And, I'm walking past classrooms and seeing great things going on. So that's, I think, I can literally just see in the system, like how much support we're giving those students who need it, and the types of support and the comments going in about the, the meeting of the goals they're doing. So it's not a very technical answer, but it's a personal thing for me to be reminded about what's really going on and what's really important in the school.
I think that's fantastic. And I'm betting if we have this same conversation a year from now, you probably have a different answer, because you're going to, as this expands, as you get more familiar with things and start to really, get into the deeper aspects of this very comprehensive system and all the things it can do, I think you're going to find that we could have this conversation and it will change over time. But I think that's fantastic that's what you're getting out of it. Well, are there anything else that you would like to share in general about special programs or your experience with it?
For me, I find it terribly US centric. That's because we're international. We have a different set of rules we have to follow. For us, we've had to do some customizations to allow it to work for us. And I know we're complex because we're over 2 continents as well, with 2 different sets of rules, and we've got to make sure we're meeting everybody. So for us, it's almost too complex. I almost want to take bits off, and we're kind of working at that to make the user experience, even if I see it as an administrator of the system. All the users don't need to see all the options they're not using. So that's something, I've probably learned that we could have done better, and I want to work on that next, and to make a cleaner interface for them without all the standard things that come with the US-centric one. Yes. And I think we had on the customizations, we've had the guys we've worked with have been really helpful, and have moved them on quickly when we've needed things done quickly. So I've been really, really happy with them.
Well, that's great. And I mean, that does make sense. I mean, we are expanding internationally more and more. So, hopefully, again, going back to a year from now conversation we'd have, it looks a little different. I'll just throw in, this may be something you know about or not delved into yet, but we do have a feature called Easy Edit. I don't know if you're aware of that, but we deployed that last December, and it does give you more flexibility to go in and say, you know what, we don't need all these fields required. We need just this handful. And it gives you a little more flexibility than we had prior to that, in terms of making some of those decisions and making those changes on your own.
Yeah, and in fact, I was on the webinar where they were demoing that just before they brought it out, and I was like, oh that's brilliant.
It's a game changer. I've heard those words from a few districts. So continue to enhance that.
That's made a big difference. I mean, we've not used it because we're kind of mid-year, and we're kind of just like, okay, just everything paused so we can get the teachers kind of doing what they need to do. But yes, I think, over the summer when we get some time, we'll start playing around and with that functionality. But yes, no, that was a big up, I have to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. And back to exactly your crawl, walk, run analogy, right? So you're going to get more and more into it. And the summer is actually a nice time to reflect on things that have worked and things that you could maybe pare back on, and then delve a little bit deeper into that functionality and allow you to make some of those changes on your own. Quite frankly, a lot of the reason we pushed that was for our international customers and the US-centric nature of the program as it is. So hopefully that's a stepping stone on the right direction to support you guys.
Absolutely.
Jules, this was as interesting and engaging as I thought and hoped it would be. So thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. If you need anything at all, we're your partner and we're happy to help. So reach out anytime, and thanks again.
No problem at all. It was easy.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
And you. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.